I hate Commander. Every day, thousands of people learn how to play Magic the Gathering. Of those thousands, it's safe to assume that the majority of them learn to play Commander, the most popular format. My name is Antithesis. I've been playing Magic since I was 7. The first set I ever got cards from was Rise of the Eldrazi, which released in 2009. Before Magic's publisher, Wizards of the Coast, discontinued their partnership with them, I studied for and became a registered level 1 judge with Judge Academy. I've competed in and judged for local events in my small town, as I'm the only registered judge within it. When I started playing Magic, there was only casual play. This involved 2 players sitting across from each other, each with a 60-card deck, following the 4-of rule. When I later became aware of the multiple named formats that Magic consists of, I learned that this was close to the Legacy format. However, because my friends and I were just opening booster packs willy-nilly and putting cards into a deck as they fit, we were playing closer to the Standard format. Standard, for those of you who don't know, is a format played between 2 players, each player bringing a 60-card minimum deck as well as a 15-card sideboard. No more than 4 cards that share the same name, excluding land cards with a basic subtype, can be listed between the deck and the sideboard. This is known as the 4-of rule. This means that players typically play close to 60 cards with no more than 10 to 15 unique cards in their deck, as this maximizes the deck's consistency with its versatility. The legal card pool for Standard includes cards printed in premier sets during the last 3 years, save for a few cards which should be legal but are banned. A match is played as a best-of-3 game, where after the first game you can swap out cards in your main deck with cards in your sideboard. This creates an element of additional critical thinking, because your sideboard can include cards tailored to hinder your opponent's game plan. In tournament play, each best-of-3 has a maximum time of 50 minutes, meaning that even without the time limit, games typically take around half of an hour to complete. Named for the legendary Elder Dragon cards printed in the early days of Magic the Gathering, Elder Dragon Highlander, another name for Commander, is played between 4 players, each with a 100-card deck. Each deck has a legendary creature at its helm, that creature being the commander of the deck. And, as Clancy Brown cries out in Russell Mulcahy's 1986 film Highlander, "There can be only one," of each non-basic resource card in a commander deck, hence the apt name Elder Dragon Highlander. Cards legal in EDH are any card printed since the game's inception, save for short lists including cards with the conspiracy card type, cards that refer to playing with ante, cards whose art, text, name, or combination thereof that are racially or culturally offensive, and a list of banned cards 50 items long. This leads to a large variety of cards being played, with anywhere from 65 to 95 unique cards played in a single commander deck. Because EDH is a social format, WotC does not provide an official time restriction for rounds to take during tournament play, and games can last anywhere between 30 minutes if you're playing with an especially competitive pod, and 3 hours if you're playing with an especially casual pod. And this just varies depending on the style of decks being played and those decks' average speed. In their paper, The Neuroscience of Working Memory Capacity and Training, researchers Constantinidis and Klingberg note that a large array of locations in the brain that are dedicated to working memory share locality with areas that are, quote, commonly used for visual spatial working memory, spatially selective attention, and a wide range of other cognitive tasks, including some verbal working memory tasks. Modern tactics to teach new players how to play Magic the Gathering break down into 2 effective strategies. Either you direct the player towards Wizards of the Coast's video game, Magic the Gathering Arena, or you have another player sit down across from you and teach them. In his podcast, Drive to Work, the head of research and development for Magic the Gathering at Wizards of the Coast, Mark Rosewater, goes over the history of how new players are introduced to Magic the Gathering. He describes the fact that Commander has become the #1 format as something of a mixed blessing.
Commander is a double-edged sword as a learn-to-play tool. On the positive side, it's multiplayer. You have multiple people teaching you, and also it's a political game. So like your friends can kind of keep you around longer because A, you're a lot less threat, you're a beginner, and B, you know, hey, it's not fun to just beat you. Like on a 2-player game, hey, your partner might just beat you right away, and that's not fun. But in a multiplayer game, the other players can sort of let you grow and evolve a little bit.
In addition, Wizards of the Coast has recently recognized that trying to get new players to play Magic with products that go straight to premier formats is far less effective than with their standard product line. Beginning in 2020, Wizards of the Coast has printed several products incorporating outside intellectual property into Magic the Gathering. This Universes Beyond product line currently includes intellectual properties such as Fallout, Doctor Who, Assassin's Creed, Lord of the Rings, and more. These products were either legal in eternal formats, of which EDH Commander is one, or straight to modern expansions, legal in eternal formats and a specific high-powered format called Modern. This encouraged new players, of which Universes Beyond brought in droves, to buy sealed product and play Commander. However, beginning with the release of a Final Fantasy expansion in 2025, Universes Beyond expansions will be legal in Standard, as well as Modern and Eternal formats. Aaron Forscythe, Vice President of Magic Design at WotC's Research and Development Division, lists their goals with this change. Quote, newer players that come into Magic through Universes Beyond can be properly pathed into smaller formats where their decks have a chance to be competitive. Veteran players should appreciate a reduction in straight-to-modern sets that have created more churn in that format than typical sets do. Our design team gets to do what they're best at. We have decades of reps making sets built for this, quote, default use case. For the future of Magic, this means that newer players won't be forced into a format designed for veteran players if they want to play their new cards, but will instead be guided towards an easier-to-learn format. Whenever a new expansion is released, its cards are deemed legal in a set of formats. Most expansions are standard legal expansions, which automatically makes them legal in most other formats. Notably, Standard is a rotating format, meaning that legal expansions released within the last 3 years are permitted for play. Once an expansion rotates out of Standard, it remains legal in all other formats that the set was legal in. This means that the pool of cards to select from is considerably smaller than EDH, of which every set is legal. Each expansion contains between 200 to 275 new cards, and about 4 standard legal sets are released each year. This will change in 2025 when that number goes up to 6 standard legal sets released each year. This puts the standard card pool at around 3,000 cards, around 11% the size of the 28,182 cards legal to play in Commander as of November 2024. Not only are cards from older expansions seen more regularly, but those cards can have confusing or difficult to read wordings. For example, a version of the card Clone, printed in 1993, reads as follows. Upon summoning, Clone acquires all normal characteristics, including color, of any one creature in play on either side. Any enchantments on a original creature are not copied. Clone retains these characteristics even after original creature is destroyed. Clone cannot be played if there are no creatures in play. Clone has been reprinted several times throughout the years, with its most recent printing in 2013, displaying updated rules text. The 2013 version of Clone reads, you may have Clone enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. The 1993 version does not play with the modern rule set as it reads, as you can play it if no creatures are in play. It'll simply enter the battlefield as a 0/0 and die due to state-based actions. In Magic the Gathering, whenever you play a card, you don't use the words as they're printed on the card. Instead, you refer to the wording that exists in WotC's Gatherer database, which holds general and card-specific information for every card ever printed. This wording is referred to as Oracle text, so even if a player uses a physical 1993 version of Clone, the card works within the game as though it had its modern Oracle text printed on it. This concept is difficult for new players to understand, and mitigating it as much as possible when a player is learning how to play the game should be paramount. Commander does have several things going for it when trying to teach new players. In his Learn to Play episode, Rosewater notes that they try to bring new players into EDH by offering pre-constructed decks for those players, all with updated wordings and straightforward game plans. This is especially needed for games mechanically wide as EDH.
Building a Commander deck is even more intimidating. I mean, it's not just 60 cards, it's 100 cards. It's not 4 of, it's 1 of. It's just, and it's not just the last 2 years worth of cards or 3 years worth of cards. It's all cards from 30 years. There's 27,000 cards. It's intimidating. Now, one of the things about that is, for a while, like I said, we did pre-constructed decks. One of the things we started doing is, with products, for a while we did what we call Planeswalker decks, which were meant to be the intro deck that we've already made it, that's meant to be more introductory. That has transitioned into Commander decks. So now with products, we will make Commander decks. The idea of the pre-constructed Commander deck is, hey, are you new to the game? Are you new to Commander? We'll just make a deck for you. That's a lot less stress. Like pre-constructed decks are even more important in Commander because just the barrier to making a Commander deck is even higher.
Wizards of the Coast has done a fantastic job of putting out fun, simple, and relatively inexpensive Commander decks that draw new players into the format. Some of their Universes Beyond products, namely the Warhammer 40k, Doctor Who, and Fallout lines, were exclusively Commander decks, and drew many new players directly into the format. The 4-player style of the format can increase some social aspects of the players. Commander is a political format, meaning that you can bargain with other players to pull yourself ahead. In their paper, Collectible Card Games as Learning Tools, Turkay et al. Note that when a game mechanics encourage players to interact, they tend to enjoy the game more, as well as build positive social behaviors such as cooperation through mutual self-interest and creative socializing. Socialization happens a lot more in Commander than it does in Standard, so if a new player is looking to have a good time with their friends and wants to use Magic to do so, Commander would be the format for them. When attempting to teach a new player, it's best to start simple. Wizards of the Coast provides officially licensed game stores with welcome decks, intended to be given away for free to players wanting to learn the game. These decks prioritize the main way of winning the game, reducing your opponent's life total to 0 by attacking with creatures. Each welcome deck consists of 30 cards, with over a third of those being creature cards and another third being basic land cards. The creature cards either have simple interactions or no rules text whatsoever. It's suggested that when teaching new players, don't bring in difficult interactions or mechanics for a few games until they've got the hang of things. Mechanics and ideologies like instant speed interaction, taking actions as late as possible, and even some evergreen mechanics like first and double strike should be avoided until a new player has a fundamental understanding of the game. Focus on teaching a new player the phases of the turn, casting spells, and actions during the combat phase. Wizards of the Coast has also released booster packs under their Jumpstart product line. These booster packs are built for the purpose of purely open 2 of them, shuffle them together, and you instantly have a ready-to-play 40-card deck. These decks are absolutely incredible for teaching new players, as the cards within always have updated rules text, the mechanics within them stay relatively simple, and the price range for them is extremely low, the packs going for $5 to $6 each. If one intends on teaching multiple players, they could open multiple packs, keep them separated, and shuffle 2 random together at a time, so more money isn't spent and a fresh play experience is generated with each new game. I do hope that you've enjoyed my video essay on why Commander is not the best format for new players. I would like to thank the UIdaho Esports Lab for allowing me to borrow their space to record these videos. I hope you all have a wonderful day. In their paper, Collectible Card Games as Reading Tools. So I'm just going to talk about this for the rest of the video essay because it was funny. In their paper, I can speak today, I promise. It's like a thing I can do.
You're getting most of the work done. I believe
Yeah.